2. At the core of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is actually a kind of compelling horror concept. The characters from the first film are trying to overcome the trauma and the horror of everything they experienced from the first film, only for everybody in their town to suddenly become obsessed with Freddy Fazbear again, which they show by having a Freddy Fazbear festival called Faz Fest, where apparently they just walk around and there's some booths and I guess a costume contest. It's very weird.
Definitely not the Freddy's I remember.
You're thinking of the franchise location. This is the original.
At the center of that premise is an interesting story about PTSD and how it can affect your daily life. I especially like the concept of having a Freddy robot running around the Faz Fest, wreaking havoc without people realizing it's real. It's a fun meta way to have a couple kills or tense moments, but Five Nights at Freddy's 2 doesn't do that. In fact, it doesn't explore any of that at all. The sexy blonde woman, whose name doesn't matter, is dealing with the trauma of her father being a serial child killer. She keeps having these cliche jump-scary visions and nightmares of him saying, "I'll never leave you." The correct path to take in a screenplay from here is for her to attempt to reject that idea, which the film does to its credit. However, it reaches a fork in the road here where going down one path, you have to have her questioning herself and her own reality. Something has to happen where she can't protect somebody or accidentally hurts someone and decides maybe she's more like her father than she thought. The other path in this fork in the road is where you don't do that and instead don't do anything. Try to guess what Five Nights at Freddy's 2 does. Ding, 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 you guessed it. This movie doesn't do anything. Turns out she has a brother who's also insane, just like her father, and despite doing nothing but good for other people and gaining the trust of people around them by doing the right thing, no one trusts her at the end. Why? I have no idea. Because she decided not to tell the world her father and brother were psychopaths? It's just an incredibly lazy way of sequel baiting in a diarrhea fest starring Josh Hutcherson, who looks more tired than ever before. But speaking of Josh, whose character's name matters somehow even less than this girl's, let's talk about Josh. Dear old Josh. His whole character is being in love with the sexy blonde woman, but also telling her he doesn't trust her. Just because. Oh, and he says his whole goal is to protect his little sister, but literally never does. In fact, he leaves her at home more than once, leading her to go back to Freddy's to search out for her creepy ghost friends, and then eventually to another Freddy's so she can be manipulated by another sexy blonde woman who is actually an evil puppet. That's real. This is all real. One of my favorite moments, though, is when Josh finds his sister, walks her out of Freddy's with an evil talking machine, and then finds a poster that says murder on it, with some random phone number. Okay, tell me what you think happens here. Does Josh A, call the number on the poster, thus finding out information about the plot and moving the story forward? Or B, does he just say that he did it and tell somebody about the information he learned? I'll give you a second. Ding, 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 you didn't even need a second because we all know that he didn't do it. It didn't show it. It's off screen in a scene that could have been a scene. It's just not in the movie. And despite all of this, we haven't even gotten to my favorite character of all, the 6th grade evil and twisted robotics teacher. I love this guy, unironically. In another life, he definitely skinned people alive and wore it as a coat, but it just seems he's a little bit too tired of everyone's bullshit to do it in this life. So instead, he just screams at kids and smashes Abby's robot because he doesn't want her to mess up the science fair that he himself put on. He doesn't want to look bad. He's just gloriously evil. In fact, he's so mustache-twirlingly evil, I'm surprised they didn't have him A, do that, and B, just turn the movie into a comedy to play with this character more. You have Rich Evans play this guy, and you've got something golden, trust me. What's a shame, though, is outside of a couple of YouTuber brats that should have had the words body count tattooed to their forehead, he's actually the only death in this entire film, which is a shame. This premise is ripe with potential for fun deaths, but instead it pulls a Squidward eating a Krabby Patty and barely takes a bite out of this forbidden fruit. You literally have a moment where Freddy is walking down Main Street during the Freddy Fazbear Festival, and you know what he does? He turns to people and says, "I've got other places to be," and then leaves the festival only then to go to a random house to terrorize two random old people you've never seen before and will never see again afterwards. Are you out of your mind, movie? You have the perfect setup right here, and you don't do anything with it. It's actually baffling that it's right there, and it's the only scene in Fazbear Festival in the whole movie. What are we doing? What should have been the keystone of this entire film, this festival, is not just missing, it seems like it was never installed in the first place, making this horror film archway crumble down on itself before it stood a chance. There are so many busted and terrible elements of this film I could drone on, like the 11-year-olds taking a robotics class to justify a big Chica robot at a science festival, or the embarrassing sequel bait at the end of the film, or that one shot that just literally looks like this. Why'd you do that? Or once again, underutilizing Matthew Lillard. Or finally, every other rotten piece of dialogue uttered in this disaster of a movie.
We're never gonna be able to move forward until you deal with some of the mess you left in your head.
My father was a monster. You know that.
Yet they all pale in comparison to the film's insistence that Freddy Festival is happening without doing anything with it. There's this moment near the end where the evil robots seem to have overcome the odds and are about to beat our heroes, only for them to get their heads ripped off by the good guy counterparts of their robotic selves. In a scene that's, of course, incredibly awkward and lazy, but it could have been so much better if you just said it at Faz Festival. You have 4 evil robots facing off against 4 good robots. People are filming on their phones, they're cheering, they're hooping, they're hollering. The evil robots are about to kill Josh, and then the good ones come in and tear their heads off, and everybody cheers, and then judges come out and pin medals on the good guy robots and say, "Best in show. We love you guys. You won the costume contest." But you know what? That's just a little too fun for this movie, and it also takes time and money, which this movie doesn't have. It is a Jason Blum movie, and the name of his game is get it to theaters fast for as little money as possible.
Worked very, very hard on the script for this movie.
So of course this sucks. It's a Jason Blum movie. It's completely devoid of creativity, joys of filmmaking, and just general happiness. Like, you can feel people on screen not happy or enjoying themselves doing this movie. So why even do it? It's just the clean pile of clothes sitting on the floor of the closet waiting for you to come pick one off of the top and close the door and leave it forever. Also, I didn't mention, but I love this element of the movie, as a last note. They have an EMF reader. These supposedly incredible ghost hunting people have an EMF reader that's literally this. This is $10 or $15 on Amazon, and one of my favorite features about it is if you hit the button, it turns on, right? And you can see it's detecting some electromagnetic wave or whatever it does. But if you hit this rapidly, you can actually trigger it going up to 5, and they do that in the movie. Watch out for it.